The story begins on a barren, dying planet. Gore is wandering through the desert, exhausted and barely surviving. His little daughter is in his arms, struggling to breathe. That planet hadn't seen rain for years. No food, no water, and one by one, everyone they knew had already died. Gore kept praying to the gods for help, but nobody ever answered. And right there in his arms, his daughter takes her final breath. Gore breaks down completely. One day, out of nowhere, Gore sees a lush, green oasis appear on the dry land. When he walks inside, he accidentally cuts his hand on the necrosword. And then he sees it, the god of light, relaxing, eating fruits, enjoying himself as if nothing in the universe is wrong. Gore becomes hopeful and tells him everything, how his world was destroyed, how everyone died, including his daughter, and how they never stopped praying. But the god just laughs at him and says, "Fool, you weren't saved. This was just a trap to kill the sword's previous wielder." Hearing this, Gore is heartbroken. The truth hits him. The gods he worshipped his entire life never cared, not even a little. He angrily rips the pendant from his neck. The god of light is enraged and starts choking him, but the necrosword has already chosen Gore. Dark whispers fill his mind, telling him that all gods are corrupt and that he must kill them all. Visions show him a path: summon the Bifrost, reach eternity, and end every god in existence. The sword flies into Gore's hand on its own, and with one powerful strike, he kills the god of light. He vows, "From now on, every god will die by my hand." Meanwhile, we see Korg telling a group of kids the legendary life story of Thor. He explains how Thor grew up visiting battlefields with his parents, how he fought countless wars and won every time. Thor had many flings along the way, but his real love was Jane Foster. After they broke up, and after losing everyone he cared about, Thor fell into a deep depression. He stopped fighting, stopped caring, and let himself go completely. But after the events of Endgame, he teamed up with the Guardians of the Galaxy and turned his family pack belly back into a six-pack. Together, they fought all kinds of cosmic battles. Still, Thor couldn't escape the pain inside, so he started meditating, trying to find peace. Star-Lord walks up to him and says, "Hey, we can't win this one without you." So Thor hops onto Stormbreaker and heads into battle. The Guardians are already fighting weird-looking creatures who have taken over that planet's sacred temple. The king of the planet rushes to Thor, thrilled to see him, and begs for help. Thor jumps into the battlefield with Stormbreaker and within minutes wipes out the entire enemy army alone. The crowd erupts in cheers, praising the god of thunder. Back on Earth, we shift to Jane Foster. She's in the hospital, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The doctors have no cure left, and she has only a little time remaining. Her friend Darcy comes to visit and gently tells her, "You should spend your final days with someone who really mattered to you, Thor." But Jane refuses to entertain the idea. One day, while Jane Foster is reading about Mjolnir in an old book, she discovers something shocking. Thor's hammer has the power to heal even the deadliest of diseases. With her cancer getting worse, she desperately hopes Mjolnir might save her, so she travels straight to Asgard. Meanwhile, New Asgard has become a modern tourist hotspot. Thanks to Valkyrie's leadership, the place is thriving with attractions, shows, and visitors from all over the world. There, in a protected display area, lies the broken Mjolnir. Tourists surround it with awe, when suddenly, Jane arrives, and the shattered hammer begins glowing, pulling itself back together piece by piece. On the other side of the galaxy, Thor is celebrating his latest victory. The planet's king rewards him with 2 gigantic screaming goats. But when Thor brings them aboard the Guardian's ship, chaos erupts as the goats start smashing everything, driving everyone insane. Suddenly, multiple distress signals start flooding in. Gods across the universe are being brutally murdered. Since the attacks are happening in many places at once, Thor decides to head out alone with Korg, using Stormbreaker to summon the Bifrost. Star-Lord takes the rest of the team to handle other emergencies. Thor arrives on a frozen planet where the god Falagar lies dead. Nearby, Sif is barely alive. She's missing an arm, badly wounded from battle. Thor kneels beside her and asks, "Who did this?" Sif breathes heavily and says, "It's Gore, the god butcher. He's slaughtering gods without mercy, and he wields the necrosword, a weapon made to kill our kind." Before losing consciousness, she warns him that Gore is headed for New Asgard next. Thor jumps in, battling alongside her, when he suddenly notices the broken Mjolnir restored flying through the air and destroying monsters on its own. Thor is stunned. Even when he calls for it, the hammer ignores him completely. He rushes toward the one holding it and freezes in disbelief. It's Jane Foster, dressed in armor, wielding Mjolnir, glowing with power. Jane is now the mighty Thor. Thor asks, How is this happening?" But Jane simply says, "We can talk later. Right now, focus on the fight." Thor spots Gore nearby and charges at him, but the necrosword gives Gore an overwhelming advantage. Even Thor struggles until he powers up fully, forcing Gore to retreat into the shadows. But escaping was part of Gore's plan. While everyone was distracted, he kidnaps all the children of Asgard and vanishes. Parents panic. The whole community is in chaos. Valkyrie struggles to calm them, so Thor steps up and reassures them, "I promise, we'll bring your children home." Later, while Thor meets with his team, a floating hologram-like head appears. It's Axel, Heimdall's son, kidnapped along with the other kids. Axel inherited his father's vision powers and uses them to show Thor where they are being held. Thor sees that Gore has taken all the children into the far reaches of the Shadow Realm, a place filled with pure darkness. Thor tells Jane and the others, "We need a team and we need backup. We're going to Omnipotent City, the council of all gods, and we'll ask Zeus himself for help." Thor calls Stormbreaker to open the Bifrost, but the axe slides toward him slowly, sulking. Stormbreaker is jealous. Thor keeps trying to summon Mjolnir, and the axe can feel it. It's angry, disappointed, almost heartbroken. Jane laughs and says, "Stormbreaker's upset. We should probably give it some space." So the group builds a ship, mounts Stormbreaker at the front, ties the two giant screaming goats to it, and flies straight toward Omnipotent City. Inside the massive golden hall, Zeus is entertaining the other gods, showing off his power and putting on a ridiculous display. Thor steps forward and warns him, "Gore is murdering gods across the universe. We need your help to stop him." But Zeus refuses. He's terrified, afraid that if he fights, Gore will come for him next. He tells Thor, "Gore will never reach eternity, and now that you know about it, you're staying here. If you leave, you might lead him straight to the one place where any wish can be granted." Hearing this, Thor is furious. "You're not the Zeus I grew up admiring. You're just a selfish coward hiding in your palace." Zeus snaps. He attacks Thor and orders his guards to capture the team. A massive battle breaks out. Zeus throws his deadly weapon, the Thunderbolt, straight at Korg, blasting him to pieces. Thor screams in shock, believing his friend has died. Zeus then prepares to strike Thor, but Thor catches the Thunderbolt mid-air and hurls it straight through Zeus's chest. The king of the gods collapses. Defeated, Thor rushes to what remains of Korg and discovers that Korg is still alive as a floating talking head. Fight their way out of the city, grab the Thunderbolt, and escape. Later, Thor uses his power to speak to the kidnapped children through Axel's vision. He tells them gently, "Don't be afraid, I'm coming for you, I promise." Meanwhile, Valkyrie is anxious about facing Gore again. The shadow monsters, the Necrosword, everything about him is terrifying, but Thor reassures her, "We have Zeus's Thunderbolt now. Together we will defeat him." They head toward the Shadow Realm, but Stormbreaker begins acting strange. It's jealous. Stormbreaker overheard Thor praising the Thunderbolt, and now it's sulking, pulling away and refusing to cooperate. Thor walks up to it like someone apologizing to an upset pet. "Hey, no matter what, you are my favorite weapon." Jane arrives during this awkward moment. Thor finally opens up to her, everything he's been holding in for years. He tells her how empty he felt after she left, how nothing ever brought him peace, and how he never wants to lose her again. He wants to spend the rest of his life with her. Jane becomes emotional and finally tells him the truth, that she has stage 4 cancer, that after they broke up, her life fell apart, and when she heard Mjolnir calling to her, she came to Asgard. Mjolnir turned her into the mighty Thor, but every time she uses its power, her human body becomes weaker. Still, Jane says, "I want to spend my final days fighting, helping people, living as Thor." Thor is heartbroken, but all the pain and misunderstanding between them finally fades, and they come together again. At that moment, Valkyrie rushes in. "We're here. This is Gore's shadow planet." The moment they land, everything turns black and white, drained of all color by the dark energy of the realm. They move inside the dark lair where the children were supposedly kept, but the place is empty. Jane studies drawings on the walls, symbols of eternity. Suddenly she understands. Gore wants to use Stormbreaker to open the gates to eternity. If he gets there, nothing can stop him. Realizing the danger, Jane grabs Stormbreaker from Thor and throws it far, far away. Gore appears in the shadows. Thor charges forward to attack him, but Gore unleashes a surge of black particles, trapping Thor, Jane, Valkyrie, and Korg's floating head in midair. Gore walks slowly toward them, taunting each one, trying to break them emotionally, but none of them fall for his tricks. Then he turns to Thor. He knows Thor's deepest weakness, Jane. Gore grabs her, torturing her with the shadows. Thor watches helplessly, panic rising in his eyes. Gore whispers, "Call your axe or she dies." Unable to watch Jane suffer, Thor gives in. He summons Stormbreaker. A massive thunderclap erupts and everyone breaks free from the shadow trap. Gore immediately summons an army of dark creatures with the Necrosword. Jane and Valkyrie dive into battle while Thor clashes directly with Gore in a brutal fight, but the sickness is draining Jane. Her movements slow, her body weakens. Valkyrie tries to take down Gore herself, but he grabs Zeus's Thunderbolt and drives it right into her, injuring her badly. Seeing both of them hurt, Thor realizes they can't win this fight here. He calls everyone together and summons the Bifrost to escape, but right as they teleport, Gore launches his creatures towards Stormbreaker and wrestles it out of Thor's hands. The axe slips away from the Bifrost beam. Gore now has Stormbreaker, and he heads straight to eternity to open the cosmic gateway. Thor, Jane, Valkyrie, and Korg arrive back in New Asgard. Jane collapses. Her condition has gotten much worse. Doctors explain to Thor, every time she uses Mjolnir, the cancer spreads faster. Her body can't fight it anymore. Thor is devastated. He tells Jane, "You can't come with me. Not this time." Jane whispers, "I want to fight to my last breath." Thor shakes his head. "You're my life, Jane. I can't lose you again." For the first time, she listens and stays. Thor promises her, "I'll save the children. I'll come back to you." Before leaving, he meets Valkyrie. She hands him Zeus's Thunderbolt. "I can't fight anymore," she says. "You'll have to finish this." Thor nods and heads out alone. Meanwhile, Gore uses Stormbreaker to open the gates of eternity. A giant stone pillar collapses toward the captured children, but just in time, Thor arrives and smashes it apart, saving all of them. The kids cheer as Thor stands before them, but Gore's shadow monsters rush forward. Thor looks at the frightened children and says, "You don't have to fight like me, but today, you won't fight alone." He raises Zeus's Thunderbolt and releases its energy, granting every child a spark of his power. Lightning flows through them. The kids pick up weapons, and for a short moment, become tiny warriors of thunder. They charge into the monsters with wild, fearless energy. Meanwhile, Thor battles Gore, but without Stormbreaker, the God Butcher overpowers him. Gore slams him to the ground, ready to deliver the killing blow, when suddenly a blast of lightning strikes the battlefield. Jane arrives. She leaps in as the mighty Thor and knocks Gore away. Thor is heartbroken. He knows that using Mjolnir again is destroying her life, but Jane chooses to fight anyway. Together, Thor and Jane launch a final stand against Gore. Jane yells over the chaos, "Thor, stop Stormbreaker. If he opens that gate, we lose everything." Thor races towards Stormbreaker. The axe is moments away from fully unlocking the gates of eternity. He pushes with everything he has, and at the last second, he forces the weapon aside, stopping the portal from opening completely. But it's too late. A beam of cosmic light surges upward. The door to eternity is open. Thor quickly hands Stormbreaker to Axel and says, "Get the kids home, now." Axel summons the Bifrost and sends all the children back to New Asgard. Gore sees this and roars with rage. He attacks Thor with everything he has. Thor catches the Necrosword with Zeus's Thunderbolt, and Jane seizes the moment. She calls Mjolnir, smashes it into the blade, and shatters the Necrosword into dust, destroying its darkness forever. But the strain crushes her already weak body. Jane collapses, and in that moment of distraction, Gore steps into eternity. Inside eternity, the heart of the universe, everything is silent. A shimmering cosmic reflection of infinity surrounds them. Jane is fading. Her breath is thin. Her body is collapsing from within. Thor turns to Gore and speaks softly. "You won't find peace by killing gods, but you will find it in the love you had for your daughter." Gore looks at the cosmic pool and finally understands. He stops fighting. Thor returns to Jane, holding her close as she takes her final breaths. Gore, watching Thor choose love over vengeance, finally sees the truth, and as eternity asks him for his wish, Gore does not choose destruction. He chooses life. "Bring my daughter back." A small figure steps forward, glowing with eternal light, his daughter alive again. But Gore himself begins to fade. The curse of the Necrosword is claiming him. He looks at Thor and says his final request, "Take care of her, please." Thor nods, "I promise." Gore collapses, his journey ending where his daughter's begins. Jane looks at Thor one last time, smiles softly, and dies peacefully in his arms. Sometime later, in New Asgard, a giant statue of the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, now stands tall, honoring her sacrifice. The children of Asgard train under Valkyrie, inspired by Jane's courage, and Thor is no longer alone. He lives with Gore's daughter, now called Love, raising her with kindness, teaching her how to use her powers, and taking her on missions to protect people across the galaxy. Together, they're known as Love and Thunder. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next adventure.